Hi, welcome to Couch Decoders. In this lesson, we're going to go over how to do a data project. I'm going to provide you with a general framework that you can use for every time that you have to start a data project. The framework of a data project can be broken up into 4 different components. First, you want to state your business problem. You want it to be clear and to the point. As a tip, if you're working with a stakeholder or a business partner, it's a good idea that you describe what you understand as the business problem to them and make sure that you are in alignment with your business partner. It's happened to me before where I've gone through a lot of work and spent a lot of time answering the wrong business question. So I do all the work and I get at the end just to find out that, whoops, this isn't what I was actually supposed to be doing. An example of stating your business problem clearly would be, how is my marketing strategy performing? It's a little broad, a little vague. You'd probably want to flesh it out more, but the overall question would be, how is my marketing strategy performing? The next thing we want to think about is, how are you going to model this? This might surprise you. You might have been expecting data collection, but I'll explain why you want to think about your model first. Generally speaking, a lot of your types of model are going to fall into one of the following categories. It might be a predictive type of model. What will happen on this day? How many sales can I expect here? It might be causal. How does X impact Y? Might be straight forecasting, where I want to forecast sales or views or traction, something like that. Or it might be classification. This person that walked into my store, how likely are they to be a customer? The people that I'm sending out an email to, how likely are they to buy from my store? So tying this back to my business question, how is my marketing strategy performing? This is probably something that's going to be descriptive or causal. I want to know, has my marketing strategy increased sales? Has my marketing strategy increased visits to my website? Now that I have my model, I can think about the data that I need. So the data that I might need for my question of how is my marketing strategy performing, I probably want to have my sales pre and post the campaign. I probably want to have the type of content or the products that I was selling before and after, make sure that it's consistent. If it's not consistent, then I need to add in some type of controls for that. I might want to look at the type of customers that are buying. Did my marketing campaign increase sales, but it also changed my customer demographic? Is that okay? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So once we have our business question, then we can figure out the type of model that we need, and then we can think about the data that we need to gather to build the model to answer the question. And then the last part, this is something that sometimes I have to do parts 1, 2, and 3 before I can get here, but if I can think of it ahead of time, that's always great, is how am I going to display this data? So is this something where I'm going to need a line graph and show something over time? Do I want a bar chart of demographics? Do I want a table looking at percentages? These are the types of things that you want to be noodling throughout the entirety of your project. So when you get to the end, you're like, okay, this is the type of visualization that I would like to do. Now that we've reviewed the overall framework, I'm going to go into detail on each of these different components. So state your business problem. When you state your business problem, it's most likely going to fall into a couple different broad categories. How does X impact Y? What will X do over time? Will X happen? Yes or no? Which group will X go into? And what will X be? So when you write down your business questions, see if they fit into one of these categories. And then if they do, I have a couple model recommendations for those types of questions. The type of model category is dependent on the type of question that you're asking. So if we're looking at how does X impact Y, we're probably looking at some level of regression. Maybe we're looking at descriptive statistics. What will X do over time? I'm looking at forecasting, something with time series, exponential smoothing, maybe I'm using regression, but I know that I'm going to use some type of time series model. Will X happen? Which is a yes or no. I'm probably going to use a logistic regression, a probability model, something with a binary. Which group will X go into? When I hear group, I think classification. I'm thinking maybe a binary model if it's two different groups. I'm thinking a K nearest neighbors if I have a bunch of different groups that it can be into. I'm going to think of some type of classification. And what will X be broadly? This, I would think more of a machine learning predictive model. A lot of times your predictive machine learning models have regression in it. The reason why I think for 5, machine learning is more appropriate than for 1 is that in question 1, we want to know more about the relationship. Once I go to machine learning, it starts to enter your black box territory and you lose visibility on what is exactly happening in the model. So if you need to really understand the relationship between 2 or more variables, you might want to use regression descriptive. If I'm just purely interested in predictive power and I want to be as accurate as possible, now we're going to enter machine learning territory. Maybe we want to do random forest or something in that kind of flavor. Now that we have our model, we can now determine, okay, what type of data do I need for that model? In general, any type of analytics problem that you're going to have is going to have 2 different types of variables. You're going to have your X variables, which are your predictors. I listed a couple common ones that I think of when I'm thinking of predictors. Maybe I'm thinking of demographics. Where does my customer live? How old are they? What's their general gender? What's their highest education level? What is their income? Things like that. Maybe I want to know some classification of something. Are they a high spender or low spender? Am I looking at a big store or small store? Do they live somewhere with high population or low population? Do they live somewhere that's cold or hot? And then maybe I want to know something about seasonality, control for time of year or time of month, or if you're looking at something like sales, you might have seasonality during the day or during the week. I find that I sell really well at lunchtime on Fridays, and other times of the week and day I don't do so well. So you might have some seasonality in there. Your Y variable or your outcome is really dependent on what you're trying to predict or what you're trying to do. Your Y variable can come in a couple different flavors. You might have continuous, where it can just be any number, whole number, decimal. It might be discrete, 1, 2, 3, 4, like a day of the week. It might be binary, yes or no, 0, 1. It could be a percentage, which is technically continuous because it can be any number, but it can only be as low as 0 and it can only go up to 1. You might also have no outcome or no Y variable. That's what we would probably do in a type of unsupervised classification model where we don't know what the group should be. We want the model to group our customers based on different predictors and X variables that we've put in. If I have a regression model, I'm going to need both an X and a Y. If I'm looking only at descriptive, I definitely need an X, and maybe I have a Y too, maybe I don't. For forecasting, I most certainly need my outcome variable. So for an exponential smoothing model, all you need is your Y variable, my sales, my people that have come to my website, and then the time that it happened. Maybe I'm going to use something like a regression model where I'm going to forecast and then I need a Y and an X. So that's a little bit more flexible. A probability model, generally you need X and Y. Classification, at a minimum, you need X variable. And sometimes you do have the outcome variable, what group or what classification they should be, and then you can build your model off of that. But there are some types of classification models where you don't even need that. You just have a big thing of data and you tell the model, hey, tell me who should be classified in what, and then the model will tell you. And then maybe you're doing a machine learning predictive model, and in general you need X and Y for that as well. Once you've done your data collection, your data modeling, the last part is your visualization. For your visualization, it really depends on who your audience is. Am I speaking to business partners who have a technical understanding? I can kind of get into the weeds a little bit about the model and what I did, and they'll understand and appreciate that. Or is this someone who knows a lot about the business, but they're not really into the stats and the nerdy number stuff? If there's someone who's not into the number, I'm not going to talk to them about the numbers in detail. I'm going to keep it high level. What is my audience interested in? Are they interested purely in results? They say, just tell me what the answer is. I don't really care how you got there. Okay, fine. I'll give you the answers. Is this someone who wants to have understanding? They want to understand, how did I get there? What is the relationship? Now I'm going to go into a little more detail. How long do I have to present? Do I have 5 minutes? Do I have 30 minutes? The amount of time that I have is really going to determine what it is that I'm going to present. And then last is, what is my personal recommendation? After I've done all of this analysis, worked in the model, done all these things, what do I think I would do if I were my business partner, and give them my recommendation? Based on these different types of things will help you determine what my visualization should be. If I'm speaking to someone who doesn't have a lot of technical knowledge, I want to keep the graphs really simple. I want to use small, round numbers. I want to keep it high level. If this is someone that's really technical, maybe I could do like a really fancy type of chart. If I only have 5 minutes, maybe all I want to do is charts and have no text and just show them a couple of quick graphs and just give them the results very quickly. So with that wraps up how I would tackle a data project and gives you a basic framework on how you can start a project from start to finish without getting lost and stuck in the weeds. I hope this was helpful. If you have any recommendations, feel free to drop a comment and I can incorporate that into a future video. Thanks. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would be so appreciative if you could like the video and subscribe to help me create more content for you. Thank you.